Sanctioned by the Absolute Beginner League from Bathurst, Australia, this is the Global SimRacing Channel's penultimate round coverage of the Formula Neagle Season 23 Championship. In 1851, the Australian gold rush happened right here in this place that would go on to be called the Gold Coast. Today, 170 years later, there is a rush of another kind, not for precious metal, but for a piece of cloth, a checkered flag. So far this season, there have been 3 previous races to that flag at 3 different venues with 3 different winners. The majority of the field today would like to see that streak of first-time winners continue, but for 2 drivers, previous winners David Burns and Manuel Lucetta, who sit atop the drivers' point standings, being the first to win twice this season could be the difference between having a very good season and a championship one. It's Skippies at Mount Panorama, and all the simulated action from green flag to victory donut streams your way live as it happens right here on GSRC. Happy St. Valentine's Day and time to kangaroo down, mate. Hello and welcome way up in the press box to bring you our Bird's Eye View. DJ Clark alongside yours truly, Phil Soups on. Sean Ambrose has director duties, armed with cameras provided by Dougie Peer. It was only 4 races ago, last season's season finale, since Formula Neagle visited Mount Panorama. Season 5 champ Vincent Bream earned top honors that day, besting a small field of 17 other drivers, including podium finishers Ryan Walker and the Junkyard Dog Used Young. None of the major players in today's race were present, so they might want to pay extra attention to GSRC shows you this video about today's racing venue worthy of the Australian Ministry of Tourism.
Welcome to Mount Panorama Circuit. Most drivers simply refer to this place as Bathurst, with it being located just to the southwest of the city's major hub. But most ominously, and perhaps appropriately, it's been nicknamed the Mountain. With more than 500 feet of elevation change over the course of a lap, it's easy to understand why. Though originally built for racing, it's become a street circuit over time, with the track itself used for regular traffic and featuring residential housing all along the roads. This makes this 4-mile, 23-turn course incredibly unique in the world of racing. In the past, the track has hosted a variety of types of cars, including open-wheelers. But modern safety standards means that most competitive racing has now been limited to sports cars and touring cars. However, the dangers are very real due to the incredibly high speeds and lack of runoff throughout much of the circuit. The quickest parts are the run up the mountain straight towards Griffin's Bend, and then the flat-out blast back down the Conrad Straight and into the chase. This chicane was added in the late 80s to break up the run down to Murray's Corner. But while most chicanes are derided for ruining the character of a track, the terrifying speed as you approach it and the general difficulty make it fit right in with Bathurst challenges. However, the toughest portions are undoubtedly along the mountain itself, with notorious corners like the Cutting, Brock's Skyline, the Dipper, and Forest's Elbow. In fact, one of the more unique worries of this course is that all of these parts are so narrow that track blockages due to wrecks are not uncommon in the first few laps. The Australian fans often line the fences and hillsides to witness the daredevil spectacle of drivers trying to claim King of the Mountain. You can't blame them with how rare of a sight a track like Bathurst is today.
Long straightaways and a thin ribbon of concrete-lined pavement that goes up and over Mount Panorama. It should be a good one today. DJ, what do you think?
Well, Soup, I think Mount Panorama always provides a good race no matter what kind of cars you are racing in. And in these Skippies, as we saw in that video, it's really going to be a tale of 2 circuits. The first and third sector, all about that draft, tucking into the car behind you and getting a good run going down into the corner or into Griffin's Bend. That's where we're going to see the majority of the overtaking, and then that run up the hill, and more importantly and perhaps more dangerously, the run down the hill. It's all about accident avoidance. We talk about, putting the pressure on the driver ahead of you and that kind of thing. That's really going to come into play as they make their way over the crest of the hill and back down again. It's all going to be about making sure you keep all 4 tires tires on the black stuff ahead of you, making sure you don't make a mistake there, because it is very, very hard to pass, and these skippies are really any car when you get in the hill. But one way or the other, it is going to be one heck of a show in the Absolute Beginners League.
Indeed, and these skippies are fragile. It's going to be kind of like juggling teacups in a phone booth there. You get them off into the wall, and they have a fast repair. DJ will talk a little bit more about that a little bit later, but if you get yourself a fast repair, probably put any hopes of finishing well. Oh, well, those will be gone. Let's take a look at the points here with only 2 races to go, this one and one more. David Third Degree Burns, he's got himself a 2-point lead over Manuel Lucetta. Now, Burns has a first, a second, and a third so far this season. Manuel Lucetta has a first, a second, and a fourth. I'm telling you, it could all come down to bonus points. Bonus points for winning the pole, bonus points for leading a lap, and if you finish on the lead lap. So 3 possible bonus points. That could be the difference in your championship. Let's talk about Eric Lukal. He earned his first podium of the season in Brazil. He sits in third. South America was not kind for the Junkyard Dog as Yushunk finished outside the points there. And how about Ludwig Sawyer together with his team comeback partner, Lukal? They're doing very well. DJ is going to talk a little bit more about them when we look at the team championship. DJ, how about the F2 driver standings?
Well, Soup, it's a little more spread out here in the F2 Championship, and for any new viewers, this is for any drivers in the field whose I rating is under 2,300 points. As you can see there, Ludwig Sauer sitting atop the field with 40 points. He had his best finish of the season last week, coming home in 4th place. Taylor Reeder, we highlighted him a lot last week. He had a great run in Brazil, bumping him up 4 spots from where he was going into it. Christopher Crook, not the best outing, 15th overall in Interlagos. That bumps him down the field. He's going to be 14 points back. And then we have Jeffrey Brewer and Merrick Liolis, the Lions, sitting there in 4th place. That's a tie there, and very close behind them, Christopher Giros, only a point back. So the real battle there looking like it's starting to shape down between that first place position of Sauer and Reeder, and then the 3-way battle for 4th.
What about the Drivers' Championship?
Well, for those...
Team Championship, sorry.
I knew what you meant there, Sue. Before the Team Championship, you can see it is absolutely razor-thin close. 2 Stupid Dogs and Team Comeback in a tie, sitting both on 82 points. 2 Stupid Dogs being Vincent Bream and David Burns, and then Team Comeback being Eric Lukal and Ludwig Sauer. That's the 2nd race in a row in Brazil that they had the best run of the field, coming home with a whopping 40 points, so they've been able to close that gap to 2 Stupid Dogs. From there back, it's sort of a race of its own. Evolve Motorsports sitting in 2nd with Video Brewers Racing Team with 45 points back. NHR Esports back in 4th, and Street Trends Team 1 in 5th.
Great race for the top there. We'll see who gets this one. 2 races to go. Always picking up new viewers. DJ, how about the event details?
Well, as you mentioned, Soup, this is the 4th of 5 rounds in the ABL League, so we are starting to really pay attention to that championship. As always, we are going to be racing the Skip Barber Formula 2000 cars, these narrow little sort of cigar-looking cars, not a lot of downforce, narrow tires. Always makes for an interesting challenge for these drivers. It is a 40-minute race out there, and we are in the midst of a 15-minute open qualifying session where all cars are able to be out on track. Drivers do have an open setup that they can choose from to kind of twist and tune what they want. At a place like Mount Panorama, that may come into play, considering the fact that there is a heavy downforce section and twisting and turning coming up the hill, and then you want to maximize low downforce when you're on the straight, so that may play into it. You saw the bonus points that do get awarded. You mentioned that may play into just how tight some of these championships are, but the other thing to keep in mind with those open setups, there is a fuel limit that is placed on these cars, which means they are going to have to come in the pits at some point.
Pit window is usually pretty large in Formula Neagle, but with lap times of about 2.5 minutes, drivers will have to be careful. You're not going to be able to stretch it, because you got to make sure you can go another 4 miles around here. It's a big track. Before we look at qualifying, how about a quick look at the Australian weather? We'll bring that up and see how that's going to play. It looks to be pretty from where I was looking at it. And DJ, looks pretty pleasant there as we look at it in American numbers there in Fahrenheit.
Yeah, Soup, I'd say that's downright balmy. 72 degrees air temperature, 80 degrees on track. There is a fair amount of wind there. You can see the European conversions, the metric conversions for our folks who are more metrically inclined. That high wind is going to play a little bit into factor, especially as you get up in the skyline and the higher portions of the track, so watch out for that. But I don't think we're going to have a lot of adverse tire wear effects, anything like that, as the track's sitting at 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That's relatively cool and not going to cause too many problems.
A very comfortable size field here today with 28 drivers on the entry list. 19 have put in qualifying time so far. Let's go to qualifying right now. Let's start at the top. Look who it is. It's David Third Degree Burns. We talked about those bonus points, TJ. Well, he wants it.
He certainly does, and at a place like Bathurst, that's going to be important. Qualifying first, he can help to set the pace of the field. There's plenty of room to overtake here, so that's not necessarily locked in stone that he'll be there, but you can see Eric Buchel behind him. He sits second right now. These two teammates using each other a little bit, they're not teammates, but these two experienced drivers, they are using each other's draft to try and maximize speed down the straightaways. That's going to be the way you get the fastest time here qualifying.
Down the straightaway indeed. In fact, Christopher Cook comes across the line right now, and he'll be the last driver to put in a qualifying time for a long time, as the next driver will be Burns, who's just going through Forest Elbow there. We're going to ride on here with Eric Lukal. Having a great season.
Yeah, he really, really is, and really carrying over from last season. If you remember, I had a great performance from him at the Nürburgring. Was kind of the kickoff to all of this, these good runs that Eric has had. You can see there as they go down, diving their way into the chase. Whoa! That's where you got to be careful, Soup. You carry a little bit extra speed through that right-hander, and it can catch you off guard if you're not careful.
Lukal wanted to be in the draft and wanted to use that time to get a qualifying lap. He may have scrubbed off a little bit of time as he kind of drifted his way through the corner. Now through Murray's corner. Now here comes the finish line right here, and let's see how he does. And there you go, as he moves to the top.
And that draft coming into play, but David Burns, they were able to cross the line just enough time to get a good lap in, so they're going to be able to go. We see here Manuel Lucetta unable to improve his time. He's going to be a little disappointed with that. Here comes Eric Lundberg across the line. Eric's going to be able to bump up by about 0.2, and looks like he is going to be in 16th. Eustace Young comes across the line. Very slow lap for Eustace there.
Lucetta didn't put any practice time. He just slipped in here, put in a qualifying run, sitting at 2:34, sitting in fourth position. Again, bonus points so important as he sits 2 points back of Burns in the standings. The difference between first and second is 3 points. So in theory, Lucetta could beat Burns, and Burns could have that bonus point if he earns pole. Get ourselves a tie going into the season finale. DJ, you do a lot of broadcasting on GSRC. I bet you haven't had a chance to look at the schedule. Do you know where we're wrapping up this season?
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit here, Soup, and look ahead on it. I'm not going to lie, but we are going back to, I believe, the wonderful new circuit of Long Beach.
Woo, that's right. That'll be uncharted territory. How fun. We'll have ourselves, hopefully, a close point race going into the season finale, and they'll decide it on a place that no one has ever been to, at least in Formula Neagle.
It's going to be incredible, Soup, and I gotta say, the talent level in this field, it's going to be super fun. If you have not had a chance to either run Long Beach on the iRacing service or watch a race on Long Beach on iRacing, please do. It is absolutely spectacular to look at and is even more fun to drive.
We're going to look at Frederick Neptune, who just made his way out of Forest Elbow. We talked about it. We'll talk a little bit about Forest Elbow. Very important corner. It is the last corner, the sharp right-hander that sets up the long back straight. Now he heads down into one of the most important passing zones, which is the chase. You're going to see a lot of action down in the chase. Now, just ahead of him is Eric Lukal. Lukal gets the passing run. He gets his right-sized tires off on the grass. He'll be coming up to Murray's corner here. Now remember, his qualifying time 2:31.353, and Eric's going to practice his pit entrance. Well, let's take a second to talk about pit entrance here, DJ. It is tricky.
It really is, Soup. You're coming down so fast off that corner. You're used to running flat out, and it can catch you out if you are not prepared for it. Joe Turner McMullen crosses the line. He's able to go 5/10 faster. Great run there for Joe. It's going to only bump him up about one spot, though.
Burns still sits in second. The Junkyard Dog, Yushunk, sitting in third. Let's go ahead and check in on Yushunk right now. He's having a slow lap, having a slow season, to be honest with you. He just comes across the line, and I think his qualifying is done. Let's look at Andre Solander, F2 driver.
And there you see Andre coming in, and frankly, Soup, the same problems you have coming into pit lane can exist in the same thing in Murray's corner. Just have to get that corner absolutely right. There goes Solander, able to jump himself up by about 2/10, and so that's not going to change his position overall, unfortunately, but good lap there for him. Here comes Nylander to cross over the line.
We have 24 drivers that have been able to put in qualifying time. Still waiting for a few names that have not. The big name probably Taylor Reeder, who did not put in a practice time or a qualifying time. A little disappointing to the Taylor Reeder fan club. Not sure if he's going to race with us today. Sitting well up in the F2 standings. That's going to hurt him.
It certainly is. There you see Sejas coming across the line. He's able to improve ever so slightly, but I think he's going to stay in 20th position. Here comes Peter Reed. Peter has not yet set a time here. Runs that car onto the curbs at the end. Is that lap going to stick for him? Yes, it is. He will qualify in 26th.
Just a handful of drivers that are still out on the track right now. I think most everybody is satisfied with their time. Let's go ahead and jump in on the Trident again. Car number 666, Frederick Nicktoon, coming up to the chase. Last time we saw him at the chase, he didn't do it very well. We'll see how he plays it right now. Full speed, and then it's a little bit of a, I guess you could call it a chicane.
Yeah, ever so slightly, I would say. It is that left-right, very tricky to get that left-hander on the chase right. It's pretty much a blind corner as you come up to it, and then under the bridge here, and this is where you've got plenty of time to sight the corner, line it up hard on the binders, really just about as you get to those grid markers and power back onto the straightaway. Looks like the Trident's unable to improve his time.
He'll remain in 8th position. You know, we talked about Murray Corner. You're really not going to have much difference between Murray's Corner and the finish line, but a lot of times we've seen cars go too wide into Murray's, and it's a drag race to the finish. Everyone looks like they've put in their qualifying times now as they've all come off the track. So as soon as our director wants to put up the grid, we'll go through it. Since we have time, DJ, let's try it different. Let's take it a row at a time this time so we have time. I got the front row. It is Eric Lukel going to get that bonus point. He's inside of our point leader, David Third Degree Burns. How about row 2?
Just Yonk is going to be the inside of Manuel Lachetta to make up row 2.
Timothy Nylander and Ludwig Sauer fill up row 3.
Behind them in 7th place will be Neil Bamber, followed by the Trident, Frederick Neptune.
9th and 10th, that's Jeffrey Bauer and Christopher Crook.
To round out your top 10, it'll be Jeffrey Brewer, followed by Christopher Crook in 10th.
There we go. Christopher Garros is going to be in the next position, and he's going to be followed up by, let me get this right, Joshua Brain in 12th.
In 13th will be Andre Solander, followed by series organizer Wojciech Podacek.
In the 15th mark, it's Jason Guerrara with Kai Apostad in the 16th.
Nicholas Ingvaldson will be lining up in 17th in row 9, followed by Eric Lundberger in 18th.
Craig Schill is going to be flanked by Ari Seahas, who sits in 20th.
Vincent Bream going to be starting off in 20th. Very low down the order for Vincent. Not used to seeing him down there. And then in 22nd will be Joe Turner McMullen.
Dave Devine in the 23rd spot inside of Klaus Loudon.
And to round out your qualifiers who set a time here today, Troy Banks will be lining up 25th, and the outside to him in row 13 will be Peter Reed.
2 drivers that did not put in qualifying times, Timothy Cox and Taylor Reeder. I'll be surprised if either one of those actually get to the grid. We hope they both do. Cox is out there. Reeder is not. 27 drivers going to take to the grid, I believe. And leading them all is our pole sitter, Eric Lukel. Hey, DJ, how about Eric Lukel up on top? That's nice to see him out in front.
Yeah, it certainly is. Not used to seeing him necessarily starting out in the front of the field, but as you've said, he's had a great run this season. Really done a good job himself up there.
Gather up the chicken steak, covering on the cows. The horses are out of the barn, and it is indeed Lucal who's going to lead them down into Hell Corner. This is the sharp 90-degree left-hander. Let's see how the field gets through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're a little too wide back, but they get through cleanly. GJ, tip of the hat to everybody. So far, so good.
Everybody looking like they got a good start here today. Luke will try to pull out a little bit of a lead, but you can see David Burns starting to work on him, but Youst Young not happy with that qualifying position where he was. He's already up to second, and he's starting to make the moves forward.
The Junkyard Dog has been quiet all season. He gets to the front. He is first down into corner number 2. I think he's going to lead the Stampede up and over Mount Panorama. It's Young, Lucal, Burns, Manuel Lucetta right behind Burns, and Timothy Nylander trying to get up to the front 4.
Yeah, as we've seen in many races this season, Soup, the front pack starting to develop a little bit of a gap, but Nylander doing a good job of trying to keep that as close as possible. You can see the absolute swarm following it behind them as they make their way up the hill for the first time.
The front 4 very comfortable now as they race in line. I would be surprised if they do much horseplay going up and over the hill. The pressure is on Nylander. See if he can get up to those guys. He doesn't want to be left behind early on. Back behind those is Nylander, Sauer, the Triton, Frederick Neptune, Bauer, and Christopher Crook sitting in 8th.
As they head up over Skyline and the Dipper and getting their way over the crest of a hill, charging back down again. Everybody staying relatively calm and single file.
Youst Young was in that race when Formula Neagle was here last season. He had a good performance. He's out of Forrest's elbow, and they hit to the back straight for the first time. The front 4, Young, Lucal, Burns, and Lucetta. Let's see if they do any dancing.
Well, I'll tell you who's not going to be doing any dancing. That is Frederick Neptune. He has had an issue coming down the hill. Looks like he got into the wall a little bit ever so slightly, but we've got him pass for the lead as here comes Lucal on Young.
No surprise there, and I don't think Young is all that disappointed by it. He can just get him back as they head down into the chase. That's just going to mean a little more distance between the front 4 and the guys that are chasing. Big names up front, DJ, as always. Lucal, no surprise to see him there. Young, Burns, and Lucetta.
Exactly. There you see Eric Lucal getting a little bit defensive off of the corner there, just trying to cut off a little bit of the draft, prevent any action coming from behind from Youst Young. But Young is a very smart driver. He knows that that's not the area to make the overtake. Now it is all down to him to try to do get on that opening lap, get the good draft off of Hell Corner, down the mountain straight, and get him into Griffin's Bend.
Let's stay on the leaders until they get down into Griffin's Bend. Then we're going to jump back and talk about 2 drivers that are racing in tandem back behind them. That is going to be Nylander and Sauer. But let's see what the front guys do up here as expected. There's a pass for the lead. Young's going to go to the inside. And Lucal's not going to protest it too much. They get that sorted out, and then this will probably be the order. They go up and over the hill.
Exactly, and as we've seen him do time and time again, David Third-Degree Burns sitting back in that popcorn position, just watching and waiting.
So now we jump back to the 2 guys that are trying to catch up. They are 2.6 seconds behind the front 4, and we're talking about Ludwig Sauer, who just went around Nylander. They race in 4th and 5th, but they are all alone. They've left the pack behind them, but they've got a long way to go to the pack in front of them.
And Soup, we've had a big coming together going through Griffin's Bend. It looks like that was Jason Guerrara getting up into the wall. Multiple cars collected. By my count, it looks like Andre Solander, Craig Schill, Dave Devine. We're going to jump back to replay here.
We'll take a look at it. You saw it, DJ. What do you see? Oh, my goodness.
Well, it looked like Aurora there just got a little bit wide, caught into the corner. The 2 of those drivers getting caught out and ending their race. And is the thing that happens here at Bathurst when you go up the hill, if you get into an accident anywhere in that tight twisting section, you get guys behind you where there is absolutely nowhere to go. You can see the absolute carnage that ensued.
Jason Guerrera involved in it. Andre Solander. I think Neil Bamber got through cleanly. Meanwhile, back up front, it is the Junkyard Dog Youst Young with Lucal behind him, Burns and Lucetta. Now, Burns and Lucetta, DJ, they sit 1 and 2 in the points. Right now, I think they're happy to be 3rd and 4th on the track.
I I think they are too, Soup, and we've seen both of them do this many times over the course of this season and a lot of other seasons. Sitting in the position that they're able to just sit back, lift off the throttle a little bit down the straightaway, save a little bit of fuel in that car, and that will help them when it comes to pit strategy.
And you can see at the top of the screen there, here's a pit stop from Timothy Nylander. Now, he was racing in fifth position, actually sixth position, right behind Ludwig Sauer. Our director has come up with the idea. TJ, go ahead.
I was going to say, yeah, he may have come up with the idea that he may have had a little bit of qualifying fuel left in the car. Maybe he forgot to switch over the fuel load. I'm watching back on his last lap. Doesn't look like he made a lot of contact with the wall, so I don't think that is a damage-induced stop. I take that back, Soup. He made a little bit of contact coming down the hill off a Skyline, so he may be jumping in the pits there as just a preventative measure.
I talked about the big pit window, but I don't think it's that big. I imagine that Nylander's going to have to make another stop. That is bad news for Nylander, but it's also bad news. Can we put the camera on car number 14? Because now he's out there singing an Eric Carmen tune all by myself. Ludwig Sauer in fifth position. He's lost his racing partner. He's all by himself now.
He is, and he's about 2 seconds back of that leading group. You can see them just disappearing there in the distance. That means he is not going to have any draft to pick up, and so he has really just got to hope he can nail the tricky section 2 of this track.
All right, we look back up front, and they continue to race nicely in order. Who have they decided to let lead right now? Right now it's Yushuk, but by the time they get to the chase, it will be Eric Lupo. Burns and Lucetta, again, I don't think they're going to make a move until maybe it's pit stop time. DJ, they don't mind following somebody, but they'd like to be first down pit lane.
No, exactly. That's the way you want to do it. And I think for all of these guys, they really think about the whole race picture, Soup. And so they don't mind sitting back in third. But as we say it, almost to spite us, here comes David Burns.
Indeed. As he goes side by side now, he picks up a spot on Lupel. Does he want more? Let's see if he wants the momentum. He's going to tuck in behind Young. And I'll tell you right now, I didn't think that Ludwig Sauer had a chance in head to catch these guys, but the interval's not that far back. He's only maybe, well, he's a long putt away from getting on the back of Lucetta.
Yeah. He's done a really good job getting up there. He's gotten the gap down to about 1.5 seconds. So Ludwig Sauer proving us wrong here, Soup. I've got to give massive credit to this driver. There you see David Burns, and now Ludwig putting the fastest lap of the race down. Good for him. Awesome run for Ludwig.
Indeed. Keep it going, baby. Let's drop back and look at the second group now, because this is usually where it's exciting. We're going to go to fifth spot, car number 63, and we look here on the pass as they go 3 wide, coming at you. Don't mean to be too nonchalant about what's going on up front, but they've got this maneuver down pretty well. But that does move Burns to the front. All right, now we're going to go back to the second group here. This is side by side here. On the outside is Kruk. On the inside, that is Garros. Garros backs out.
Yeah, there you see Christopher not really wanting to fight that. Ooh, it looked like that was Josh Brain running very, very wide there. That was the same thing that caught out Solander and all those guys, Guerrero, a little bit earlier on. You've got to be very careful to get that apex right going through Griffin's Bend. They power their way up the hill now. You can see great camera angle here, just how much compression the suspensions have to take as they go up and down Mount Panorama.
Battle. It is Kruk and Garros as they are nose to tail with fan favorite Potocek in the mix, and then running in 8th, it is Josh Peaky in the Brain.
Looks like that Kruk and Garros are starting to gap Potocek ever so slightly. I think that's a little bit courtesy of Brain running wide there through Griffin's Bend, and Potocek just having to catch back up. He is now right up behind the gearbox of Christopher Garros, so I think this is going to develop into a really nice battle when we get off Forest Elbow.
Love that camera work there as you see him sawing on the wheel. Racing for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. talk a little bit more about Vincent Breen, who is in 9th, and Ty Alstott, who rounds out your top 10. We'll get there in a minute. Let's go back up front for a minute and check in on Ludwig Sauer, see how he's doing. Still about the same distance, well, he's lost a little bit. Now it's about 2.2, lost a little ground. He's so close, DJ, to being in the draft.
He really is, Soup. He needs to be about 1.5, 1.4 seconds behind to start getting the effects of the draft in these cars. So he's got to just get a little bit closer up to Neagle Cup to really pull that out. He's currently sitting back at about 1.7 seconds as they cross the line. So he's going to have a little bit more work to do. In the area, he's got to be able to make these moves. It's up and down the hill. That's where he's going to be making up the time.
I don't want to put on my tinfoil hat here and go all conspiracy on you, but his teammate is Eric Lupel. And maybe when Lupel was out leading the race, maybe Eric wasn't running as fast as laps as he could. As we look at that, the Junkyard Dog goes back out in front. Burns, Lupel right behind. Look at the distance Lucetta is leaving to those guys. I think that's a little bit of a safety cushion there.
I think it is. You saw exactly what can happen if somebody makes a mistake in front of you. There is absolutely nowhere to go. Those walls, it's almost like a street course as you come up this hill. The wall's just closing in around you. So Lucetta not wanting to push too far ahead in case one of these top runners does make a mistake. He has room and time to work on avoidance.
I'll be honest with you, there are no real battles that are back outside of the top 10. Everybody pretty much racing on their own. You got the 4-car battle up front. Uh-oh. Okay. Looking there that we have, our director may have found somebody. He was going to take a quick look, see if we can find an incident that might have happened. Thanks with an issue.
And there you see, Soup, that's the second time we've seen today just what can happen. They're running wide at Griffin's Bend. You're coming in. It's your natural instinct is to try to carry as much speed through that corner as possible. But the truth of the matter is if you miss that apex, it is a one-way ticket to that wall. Banks following the same problem as Guerrero.
We look at it as a pass here for the lead, and out in front, that's Burns getting around Yunk, and DJ, that's some money in the swear jar there for forgetting who you're broadcasting with. You do so many with Joe Peak. I should let you off the hook, but sorry, you'll have to pay for that one.
No, I will. I allow myself one of those mistakes a week, and I've already used it up here today on Sunday, so there you go.
All right, the excitement is back here for this battle in second. It is Ludwig Wojciech Podolczak out in front now. There's money in the jar for me. Christopher Garros is on him right now. Looking to the outside, looking to the inside, trying both sides like a jaywalking mailman. They head down into Murray's. Nothing's going to happen here. Plenty of time. A little bit of 182 blinking there from Wojciech Podolczak, but he gets that sorted out. Crook right behind him, and Brain following the whole thing.
Well, and on the setup coming out of Murray's corner there, Soup, I think you saw what's going to end up playing very crucially at the end of the race, which is how to take that corner, carrying more speed in or carrying more speed out. Podolczak carried more speed into the corner, and Giros was able to carry more speed out of the corner. That is how you get those amazing battles. But here comes Giros rather, knocking on the door, thinking about it, and he's going to have to force up behind as they go up the hill.
About 5.5 seconds up to Sauer. These guys will have to get their dancing, their choreography worked out if they want to leapfrog their way up there. This is some good racing. So often, DJ, the more exciting pack to watch is the second pack because these guys don't quite have it figured out like the guys up front. They leave a little bit on the track, and there's a little room for the guys to capitalize behind them. It's fun to watch these guys race for a while.
It's very cool to watch in Formula One. You can only watch Lewis Hamilton lead so many times, and that's exactly what we're used to with Burns and Yonk and Luca and Lucetta. These guys just absolutely dominate every week. They know I have everything in line. But these guys in the back, they're going for broke, leaving everything out on the track and really pushing the limits, and it's always fun to see drivers do that.
I equate it to watching a game of tic-tac-toe between chess players and toddlers. Much more exciting to watch toddlers play tic-tac-toe because you never know what's going to happen. They work their way down. Here they come into Forest Oval.
Soup, that may be the best analogy I've ever heard to grow. Big lock up there for Wojciech Podolczak coming down the hill, though.
long way back to Vincent Brame, who's trying to catch up to these guys. Let's go ahead and give a little screen time to one of the stupid dogs, and that is Vincent Brame. Former champion, picked up a win here at this track last season. Season 5 champion, racing in 9th position right now, all by himself. Ari Seahas back in 10th, a long way back. There's your top 10. Now, honestly, everybody else is separated.
They really are, and you can see, Soup, looking at Brem right here, just how much you need the draft to be able to stay competitive around here. You know, everybody thinks about Bathurst, and they think about the runs up and down the hill. There you see the leaders popping in some fast laps at the top of your screen. But the truth of the matter is this track is so draft heavy on those long straights on Conrad or Mountain Straights that you need a buddy to go dancing with, otherwise you're going to look real silly.
Okay. Now we look at the leaders real quick. I got some news. Manuel Lachetta started to get a little bit worried as Eric Lupel was losing touch with the front two. As I say that, Young and Burns continued to square dance. So Lachetta went around him, and now he's got to be careful. He wants to get back up to Burns, that interval. 1.2. Careful, Manuel.
Right on board with Manuel here coming up the hill, and you're right, Soup, he's got to be careful, stay in that draft range, make sure he's not going to lose any of the effects of the cars ahead of him, breaking that hole through the air, trying to close the gap as much as possible. Manuel's got it down to about 1 second as they start to crest over the hill.
Let's talk a little bit about the rule package and the intelligence of the series organizers here. They put in that bonus point for leading a lap just from this situation. That's why I think Burns made it a point to get out there in front and pick up that bonus point. You know, Manuel Lachetta will need to do that as well. There's no reason he can't work his way up there and have to do a little bit of racing to get up there. You got to be careful. You probably want to get that bonus point in before the pit stop, because who knows what happens after that.
Exactly, and yes, the start finish line does fall a little bit earlier on the lap, so Manuel, if he's able to maybe go a second lap longer on pit cycle, he can lead a lap, but he may get passed by the time he dives into pits, has to get on the pit speed limiter. So it'll be interesting to see how it shakes out. Able to get that gap down a little bit more. Manuel has, it's now 0.7 of a second, so he's going to have full effect of that draft. You can see him starting to pull in ahead, as that is David Burns making the move on East Young to take the lead.
And look how Lupel now has fallen back. Maybe it's a sympathetic drop back. Maybe he's trying to get back to his teammate Ludwig Sauer. I doubt if that's the case, but Ludwig's back there saying, "Hey, buddy, I can use a racing partner." That's a long way back. 5 seconds between Lupel and Sauer right now.
You saw that left side of the road getting used there a lot by Manuel Lachetta. I think that was a little bit of a feint coming into the pits, but here Manuel fully taking our advice into order. Supi has caught right up behind the leaders. He's only about 3.5 tenths back from Eust Young, so full effect of the draft here. Let's see if he does go to try to get that bonus point.
That yellow car you saw in the background, that was Greg Schill coming out from pit lane. He has made his stop. He is just 1 lap down behind the leaders after making his stop.
Yeah, we've had a couple of guys come into the pits, most notably Christopher Buros, Kai Alpstead. They have both come in. Vincent Green has come in as well. So drivers choosing to take early pit stops. We are in our pit window, so they will be able to make it to the end. But as we've seen a lot of times in this series, Soup, I don't think the undercut is the way to go. It always seems like if you're able to stay out a little bit longer, that's the fastest way to complete these laps.
Indeed, and that's got to be the worry of Lachetta right now. We talked about picking up that bonus point. Assuming that Young and Burns run it as long as that means that Luchetta's not going to get an opportunity to lead a lap before the pit window, before they come in for a pit stop, which means he has to hope he gets a good pit stop, and then he's going to have to get to the front when it really matters. So you can see why he's working so hard right now. I would not be surprised to see him give all he's got down into the chase and see if he can be maybe first even into pit lane.
I think that assessment is 100% right there, Soup. Another wrinkle to get thrown into the mix here. That's Timothy Cox, lap traffic down in 24th position. He is a lap down right ahead of them. A little bit lucky that they're able to catch him coming out of Forrest's elbow and on the straight. This is actually going to end up helping Just Young a lot. He's going to be able to pick up the draft, negate the effects of the draft behind him, as there you see David Burns popping in. And I think the person who's going to get caught out the most by this is Manuel Lucetta. Oh, he's going to try to get him before the chase. You don't want to make the pass there. He's able to get by, but whoo!
Timothy Cox tried to give him as much room as he could. He put his left sides out there on the Australian alfalfa. The car got a little bit loose, but Lucetta able to get around. Now here comes a stop from Burns and Lucetta coming in. That means the Junkyard Dog's going to have to go around all by himself.
And notice the reactionary way in which Manuel Lucetta came in. He did not plan to do that. I think he came in because Burns was coming in and he didn't want to lose a draft partner. So good reactions there from Manuel Lucetta.
Indeed. It's the man he's chasing in the points, wants to keep an eye on him. In fact, if I'm Manuel Lucetta, I come in, I pull right in behind Burns. He's going to be ahead of me in the pit stall. As soon as David goes, I go. I don't care how much fuel I put in. If Burns thinks he's got enough, then I got enough.
Exactly, Soup. There you see both of them waiting in the box, waiting. There goes Burns. He is out and on his way. Lucetta is out as well. But that's a 2-second slower stop.
Manny. Now you really got to work to get up there. Maybe you can do it. Burns comes out behind Bambi. Neil Bamber, apparent champions there.
Interesting there. Bamber came in, it looks like, on the first lap potentially. So not sure what that is going to mean in terms of his pit cycle. Now, the other thing to keep in mind with this, I'm just looking very quickly at stop times. David Burns was faster by about a second compared to any of our other main leaders out on track. So I think there's a chance that David may have underfueled the car slightly. So it may be advantage David Burns right now, but if he's got to really be careful on that throttle pedal, that could come back to bite him.
Yeah, we think though, even though Bambi has made a stop, he still needs to come in for a second one, a legitimate one, as his first one was early. We look here at these three-car battle up front. This is Vocek with Crook now in the mix and Brain. Sauer in second, all by himself. Yushunk will certainly come in for his stop this time around. There he is, the Junkyard Dog, all by himself, to be coming up to the chase. He's got to, TJ, even if he could go longer, I don't see the point. You got to come in and get back with your friends.
Yeah, exactly. He is just losing way too much time out there by himself, so I would not be surprised in any way, shape, or form. Here he goes under the bridge. Soup, he's going to surprise us.
We'll see how this works, though. And he comes in for his spot. I would not be surprised to see Burns going by. So now these guys, who's going to come in here? It's going to be Crook, Autocheck, and the smartest of all maybe is Josh Brain. That's why they named him that way, as he stays out.
Well, clearly Houston Josh here knows something that we don't, trying to stay out a little bit longer. Now, looking at lap time comparisons, not going to be super duper helpful on this last lap, as we're going to have some pit stops thrown in there from some of our hitters on that last lap. But Soup, I got to think not having the draft is really going to hurt Houston.
I want to go to car number 125 now, David Burns. If there was any doubt in Burns' mind about whether he's short field, you would think he would be behind Neil Bamber. Bamber, not clearly the fastest driver, but nevertheless, Bamber can put in a decent pace. If Burns was looking to save fuel, he'd be behind Bamber right now. Now, Bamber might be the stepping stone for Manuel Lucetta, who's... DJ, we talked about it, the fact that Manuel's in trouble due to the pit stop.
Yeah, he really is. Manuel is a whole 2 seconds off of Neil Bamber, so not getting any effect from the draft is Manuel. That's really going to hurt him, Soup, and this is all about the title. We ride on board with him here as he works his way up the hill. You see just how much a little bit of correction here and there he's putting in, making sure to keep that car off the wall.
if you're new to iRacing, there is a little bit of randomness that iRacing puts into the formula for how fast the fuel fills in the cars. In fact, it's more random the lower the class of cars. Certainly Skippy's not well up in the order. These are kind of cars where you're just starting out your career. So it may not, EJ, be all of Manuel's fault that he was in the pit stop so long. Maybe he got a bad roll of the dice.
No, very much so. And rolling of the dice is exactly how iRacing tends to look at it. They're going over the skyline there. Yeah. Always incredible. We got to stay on board with here to watch him take this car down the hill. This is just poetry in motion.
Boy, he is hustling as he really now is. He's Bamber's right there.
Yeah, he's got that gap down to 1.4 seconds. Really getting the hustle on. The flip of that, I'll say though, Soup, is that Neil Bamber is 1 second behind David Burns. So Burns starting to pull away, but Use Junk is in the pits.
Young staying out might be a great thing for Lucetta. Maybe Young will also be a little bit behind Burns, and Lucetta and Young can get together and try to run down Burns, who's comfortably out in front of Lucetta right now. Let's see how the dog does.
Use Junk just now coming to stop in his box. David Burns making his way out through the corner now. There you see him go.
As expected, Bamber comes in as well. Young still sitting. Now he rolls. Oh my goodness, wow, he might get out on the track first. There's Burns, now it's a drag race, but Burns has the momentum. Tip of the hat to Young, who's there. Bad news for Lucetta, who's still a long way back in the front too.
Yeah, he is 2.5 seconds back of Used Young, but Used Young proving us all wrong. He is going to be close enough to make prime use of that draft, only 5/10 back. So Young able to keep this battle alive for P1.
And Young stopped. All that not really impressive. I mean, he was 2 seconds longer cone to cone than Burns, and almost a full second longer in the box. So I don't think Young did anything fancy to get where he is.
No, I don't think he did either. I think that is just an absolute case of Used Young's outright pace, being able to hustle that car around this famous circuit, put him in an absolutely wonderful position, and he is now in the catbird seat for this race.
Looking through the pit stops are done. DJ, let's do our usual run through the field. We'll take them two at a time. I get the front two leaders. It is two-time champion David Third Degree Burns, and he's a little bit ahead of Use Young, who's looking to pick up his first win of the season. They race well out in front of the man that's chasing him.
And that man is Manuel Lucetta, who is also in a tight battle with David Burns for first place in the championship. So Manuel is going to take a little bit of a heartbreak here today if he can't get further up the field. Behind him, Eric Lukel. You saw him be very close with the leaders, but after the pit stop cycle, he is a whopping 7.5 seconds back off of David Burns.
Then there's a nice little battle going on here for fifth position. This is Ludwig Sauer. Remember him? He's racing up front with the leaders for a little while. And then how about Timothy Nylander? We can't forget about him. He races in sixth spot right now. And let's stay on this event as I think Nylander's going to... Whoa! Man, he cut that really close. He knew exactly how long his car was as he makes the pass on Sauer. DJ, who's next?
Well, next is Josh Brain. We saw him involved in those battles early on, behind him, chasing him down, but unable to get the draft pass done. That is Wojciech Podacek. These two locked in a very, very tight battle for seventh place.
Then we go to Christopher Garros, I believe. Is that our next spot? Qualified in 11th position. There's Christopher. Racing right now in 9th. He's all by himself. He's got about 2.5 seconds back to the van. We briefly talked about car number 25, Vincent Green, one of the two stupid dogs. He races the teammate to David Third Degree Burns. Remember, they're in that team battle with Ludwig Sauer and Eric Lucas. DJ, who you got next?
Well, next I have Christopher Crook. Now, Christopher was running very, very well earlier in the race. Looked like he was on for a solid top 10, but he fell victim to that Griffiths corner that we talked about coming through there. Ran a little bit wide and just started to fall down the order. Behind him, well behind him, is Neil Bamber. Neil is 7 seconds back of Christopher Crook, running around in 12th place right now.
Then we get to Ari Seahas. He was running well in the F2 Championship earlier this year. Had a bad outing last time out in Brazil. Fell off our graphic. Hopefully a 12th place finish will get him some points. 11th place finish, I apologize. And we go back to the driver who's next. That'd be Kai Allstock. He raced qualified in 16th. He's up a few spots. DJ?
Well, behind in Soup is Joe Turner McMullen. He is running around in 15th place right now. Relatively solid drive there for Joe. And behind him, Nicholas Ingvaldsson running in 16th. A perfect match to his car number, which is also 16. Soup?
And then we'll just about wrap this up. We'll go through the top 20. Frederick Neptune, who had trouble, took a fast repair. He's out there racing in 17th spot. We'll go one more back to Jeffrey Bauer. And you can see, DG, there are no real battles back here. Why don't you finish out those last guys to get to the top 20?
Well, rounding it out is going to be Peter Reed. You see him on your screen making his way through that first corner. And then behind him is Eric Lundberg. Eric coming around the corner there right now. So Eric is going to round out your top 20.
There you have it, a run through the field now with 10 seconds to go. We'll go back up front. It is Burns and Young. Now, it's very important here that Manuel Lucetta is racing in third position. He has no bigger fan right now. I'm sorry, Yus Junk has no bigger fan than Manuel Lucetta. There is a 3 points difference between winning and finishing second, and Lucetta would prefer that Junk got the lion's share.
Exactly. That's exactly what Manuel Lucetta is going to be hoping for. Is he is now 3 seconds back of Yus Junk, but here comes Junk poking his nose out to the inside. These two drivers of Burns and Young continuing to do-si-do, just playing back and forth, saving a little bit of fuel. Once again, we're going to have to keep in mind about David. He did have an early stop. The roll of the dice does come into play, but Soup, I got to think there's a little bit of light fueling in that car.
Well, if it is, then he'd like to be right here. Now, nobody is more competitive than David Burns, and David would like to get the win here in Australia as much as anybody. But you know that David also is able to think big picture. If he gets in a battle with Young, TJ, you got to wonder if maybe settling for second, picking up a few points on Lucetta going into the season finale, that wouldn't be the worst thing to happen.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, David is a racing driver, so the desire to finish on the top step of the podium is always paramount to absolutely everything else. But to be the best, you have to think about the big picture. Ooh, David looking like he was thinking about a little bit of a pass there coming down the hill, going through the dipper. But to be the best, and David is certainly one of the best, you have to think about the larger picture. You have to think about the championship. And that's exactly how we've heard David start to think about these races as things go along. So probably not going to make some, crazy dive bomb last minute move, but if the opportunity presents itself, rest assured David will go for it.
And I think if he does make the pass right here, it's not so much about being out in front as it is making sure he keeps the distance back to Lucetta, who he doesn't want to catch up. Also, one of the advantages of racing against the same guys week after week is you get to know them, you get to know their racing personality. Yus Junk is nicknamed the Junkyard Dog for a reason. His nickname isn't Lassie. I mean, if you want to mix it up with him, he's not in the championship race. Yeah, he's going to take he may take a nip out of you.
No, most certainly. He will go for broke. It's one of the things that is most fun about watching Yus is that he will always put 120% commitment into whatever corner he's running into.
All right, let's assume the leaders settle down for a minute. I want to go back and talk about this battle back here with Wojciech, and I use battle loosely here. It's really kind of a friendly little follow the leader. This is Poderchek and Josh Brain as they race for 5th position. One of the only 2 battles, DJ, that I can find is the leaders in this one.
Yeah, Soup, everybody really fanning out a lot here, and that's sometimes what you see if anybody's watched a race at Bathurst in person or watched it live. It's what tends to happen. You get a couple battles that are really developed, but the middle section of the track, coming up Mount Panorama, it just separates everything out because it requires such a fine degree of precision that it becomes very difficult to run behind somebody for lap after lap after lap.
Let's jump back up to third position. Now, I don't think that these two guys are going to go for like romantic walks on the beach, but they are teammates that like each other. Sure enough, Neagle and Sauer, they found each other. Oh, I'm sorry. So it's Neagle in third and Sauer then in fourth. Fourth and fifth. Sorry, my timing and scoring is one off there. Go ahead. Well, scoring Manuel, just so you know, I don't like to talk about Manuel Lucetta scored in 27th position on my board, and I'm sure that's not the case. So go ahead. Why don't you talk about the guys racing back there for what would be fourth and fifth?
Well, what it's going to do for these guys, it's going to allow them to get a little bit faster, get up the track a little bit better. Now, they are a whopping 9 seconds back of Manuel Lucetta, so it's not really any way to go here. But what they can do is they can also save fuel. We talked a little bit about that with David Burns, that if these guys, if either Neagle or Sauer underfueled the car ever so slightly, they're worried about fuel economy. They're going to be able to back off the loud pedal.
Let's go up front.
A little bit. Yep.
I want to go up front. This is Dave Devine, who's really a fly in the ointment right now. Dave, you had a chance to lift. I don't want to come down on you. This is the absolute beginner league, but there is no reason to battle so hard. That's Devine. He is going to go a lap down. This is Yusyunk and Burns. Devine had a chance to lift going into the chase. He didn't, and this is really way too close for what needs to be happening.
It really is. He is absolutely battling Yusyunk like he's battling for the lead. He's even sliding over on the track to Yunk. This is insane, Sue.
This is the absolute beginner league, and these are guys, but you want to be polite. He continues to fight. I'm surprised that Burns... Oh, I'm getting race control talking about to Dave Devine, telling him to lift right now. Devine is not. I'm surprised that Burns is so close. Maybe he wants to try to get by Devine when Young does. And now, the Devine, he might have got DQ'd. I think he was.
He did. He just got DQ'd for that. And I have to say, from race control, that is absolutely the right call. You can make a mistake if you're a little bit close to a corner. That is fine, but that is way too aggressive racing for two guys that are battling for the lead of a race.
Tip of the hat to the guys who are running Formula Neagle. Honestly, I've been doing a lot of broadcasts on GSRC. I have never seen that before, and I have never seen one more appropriate. Lesson learned. They turned on the exit music and gave them the hook.
They certainly did, and let this be a warning to anybody driving Formula Neagle. Don't do that.
Yeah. Well, that's done, and we're glad that worked out really well for these guys. Now, Young and Burns can race. That had championship ramifications there. One little mistake, and their whole season goes away. All right, let's leave the front two. Let's go back and look at Sauer and Neagle here. And while this is really probably not that ferocious of a battle because they are teammates. How about instead, Director? I'm gonna take you away. Let's go back to Podocek and Brain. This has more meaning to it. These guys don't like each other as much as those two guys that are holding hands in the moonlight. Oh no! And that's Brain got scalped there on the wall. Yeah. Forrest elbow. DJ, do you have a look at this one?
Yep, I've got it. Just caught him out a little bit there. You see Podocek again. Oh, smacks the wall nice and hard. And that looks like, see, that car's got a little bit of damage to it. I think ever so slightly, that wheel slightly at a cockamamie angle. That may affect Brain a little bit.
You got lobotomized. All right. I believe we are on the white flag. Apologies to everybody. Let's go ahead and watch the leaders around these final 4 miles. The car up in front, that's Burns, and then that's the hot dog flavored car of Yusyunk behind him. Although I'm not seeing the hot dog colors today.
Yeah, it looks like he's got a different paint scheme on today. But what's going to be interesting here, Soup, that he's got to keep in mind, I don't want to be leading coming off the hill. And Used Junk knows that, and I think David Burns is kicking himself ever so slightly. Yeah, Used Junk decides to stay behind. Normally we've seen the pass going up the hill and the pass coming down the hill, but Junk chooses to stay behind here to maximize opportunity and to prevent Burns from trying to have any fight back.
I have done more broadcasts with underpowered cars here at Bathurst than I could count, and for the most part, the plan is to be leading out of the chase. Probably second out of Fortis Elbow, make the pass, and then defend through Murray's. We'll see if Young has the same thing. You know, Burns knows that as well.
Yeah, Soup, and this is where the chess game starts to come into play. David Burns may, play a little bit with Used Young here, maybe lift a little bit coming out of Forest Elbow to try to let him by and keep it going. You saw him there as they go over Skyline. That was Burns playing a little bit defensive, just trying to keep Young on his toes. They come down the hill. It's ready to get this set up.
They can't slow down too much because Lucetta is really coming. I don't think there's enough tarmac left for him to get there, but he has made it close. All right, here we go. Out is Forest Elbow. It is your two-time champion and current point leader, David, third degree to Burns, out in front of Used Junk, the Junkyard Dog. The Junkyard Dog sits back. He is patiently waiting. He's off the leash now. 2 car lengths back, 1 car length back. He's going to blow by. Burns takes his half out of the middle. He's going to force Young to go around the outside. It's not going to matter. He's going to get that done. The pass is made. He's going to be in front as they head into the chase. There's enough time for Burns to get side by side through Murray and then a drag race to the finish line. We'll see how it goes. They come out of the chase. Here comes Burns. He's looking for a way around. Protecting the inside is Young. Burns is going to have to do it around the high side. Young moves over, takes his half, a little bit squeezing over. There's no room for Burns. Now they're on the throttle. Give round number 4. 4 different races, 4 different winners for Formula Eagle. It goes to Used Young. Burns will get second. Manuel Lucetta will stay close in the points as he gets third.
Well, that was an absolutely perfect finish to that race. You saw a great example of defensive driving.
Potocek just got punted by Josh Brain. Josh Brain waits patiently, and as he waits, that allows Christopher Garros to sneak through and steal 2 positions. Potocek says that's fine. Potocek being a gentleman there, they know they were having fun. Potocek in front, Brain behind him. Remember, Brain was in the wall at Forest Elbow. Nice recovery.
Yeah, so there you see Potocek coming back onto the racing line, and just that hit from behind that is just a little bit of an error in braking. Josh Brain being an absolute gentleman and allowing Potocek to finish ahead of him, and that gentlemanly act allowing Christopher Garros to pop in and sneak away that position.
Garros doesn't know what's going on. All he knows is I'm racing in 8th position. Now all of a sudden I'm in 6th. Thank you very much. Formula Eagle never fails to put on a good show. The racing is done here in Australia. Our broadcast is not. We'll take a very short break. We'll come down, run down the entire field, talk to some of the drivers, put a lock on the gate. We'll be back in a minute. Sanctioned by the Absolute Beginner League from the beautiful racetrack here in Mount Panorama. This is the Global SimRacing Channel's penultimate round coverage of Formula Neagle Season 23 Championship. The results are in. Let's give them to you now. This is the fourth race of the season, fourth different winner. It's the Junkyard Dog, Used Junk. Gridded in third, he picks up 2 spots on the track to get the win. David Third Degree Burns stretches his point lead on Manuel Lucetta. By my calculations, he picks up 2 points because he finished second compared to Lucetta in third, and 1 more bonus point for leading a lap that Manuel was not able to do. So going into the final race, rough estimate, Burns with a 5-point lead going into the season finale at Long Beach. Ludovic Sauer and Eric Lukel, the 2 teammates, finished 4th and 5th. That's going to be great for that team. Christopher Garros was able to snake a few spots around Wojciech Podacek and Josh Brain there at the end. Tip they had to Brain for some nice sportsmanship. Vincent Brain in 9th, with Christopher Crook rounding out your top 10. DJ?
In 11th was Neil Bamber. We heard a little bit of what happened to him. By the way, had a recalibration of the pedals on the grid, and that's why he was unable to take the grid. So a great recovery drive for him. Ari Sejas came home in 12th, followed by Timmy Nylander. Kai Elfstead in 14th. Joe Turner McMullen in 15th. Jeffrey Brewer in 16th. Nicholas Ingvaldson came home 17th, followed by Peter Reed and Frederick Neptune in 18th and 19th. And Klaus Loden rounding out your top 20.
Hidden Blackjack, it's Andre Solander, the last car on the lead lap, had trouble early. He was able to pick up 21st position. Greg Schill, Eric Lundberg after that, Timothy Cox, Troy Banks, Jason Guerrara. Out of religious convictions, I will not mention the next driver's name for bad sportsmanship. He finished 27th with Taylor Reed not taking the grid. With that said, I get the honor to talk to, who do I get here today? I can't see. Bring him in the booth. Do I get the race winner? And indeed, I get I get David Burns, who had to settle for second. David, you had to work hard for second place.
Yeah, I did, but I think you kind of got. In all honesty, I was just glad to be ahead of Manuel, so I was more than happy to finish. I was going to try, but to be honest, it was the back marker that put me off, because I had a plan to be behind Just on that lap, but I just went all wrong. But I'm quite happy with second.
Yeah, we won't talk much about that, but that was definitely an interesting situation. 4 races so far, 4 different winners. You're one of them. I'm not sure if I can find somebody else who's going to win. You pick up a little bit of points on your competition, Lucetta. You did lead a lap. He did not.
Yeah, it's all going to go down to the bonus points, because last round, I think he got fastest lap, so I only actually gained 2 points on it. I'm not quite sure what this will be, but the position will make a difference, so everything helps, but I would like it to be enough that if I did finish second, I'd win, but we'll just see.
Indeed. Certainly a fun season so far. I want to ask you this one. We'll get you out of this one. When you're racing with Junk and you're there, does it ever come into your mind, we talked about it during the race, does it ever come into mind the big picture of maybe second is okay rather than mixing it up for the win and ended up with no points?
In the first half, Soup, no, not really. It's more a case of making sure you stay with the lead train. So being in a pack of 4, I was happy with third. I'd even have been happy with fourth, to be honest. But Manuel just didn't seem to have quite that much pace. In the second half, yes, that becomes more of a point, because you start to think, am I in a pack of 3? Am I in a pack of 2? What distance have I got to third? But thankfully, we had enough of a gap that we could keep it that way.
Well done. Congratulations. Third championship is there for you. Good luck. We'll see you at the season finale. Have you raced at Long Beach much? You have any experience yet?
I don't even own the track yet, but I'm sure we'll put in some practice.
All right. Good luck, David. David, Third Degree Burns, 2-time champion, looking to pick up his third. DJ, I guess that's going to do it for us today, as we have nobody else. As DJ's such a tough interview, everyone's decided to stay away from him. So let's go ahead and thank everybody at the Absolute Beginner League for making this possible and organizing the series. GSRC has been doing it since season 5, and we are happy to be back, and we will continue to be back as long as we are asked. As that said, as I was going to talk to you more here, as soon as I can get to my the important things I want to talk about. You know what else I'd like to talk about? I'd like to talk about the companies and equipment that made this race possible, and that's on screen right now. How about the original music? That's courtesy of June Lalonde. See the screen for how to contact her. On screen now are some of the upcoming broadcasts, so check them out and mark them down on your schedule. Hey, Formula Legal returns in 2 weeks. That's from this commentator's hometown of Long Beach, California. for the season finale. GSRC will be there. We hope you join us. If you'd like more information about GSRC, including complete list of future broadcasts, you can find us at globalsimracingchannel.com. We also got some social media options. Watch me roll through these without a stutter. We're on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Getting good at that after the 14th million try. And while you're here, if you haven't done so yet, become a GSRC YouTube subscriber by hitting that button. It helps us out. If you'd like more, if you'd like a unique gift, how about you go to the merchandise store? That's gsrc.storenv.com. Finally, on behalf of the entire crew, that would be GJ, Sean, and Dougie, I'd like to thank all of you for watching. And it was the Junkyard Dog getting his bone here, picking up his first win of the season at Bathurst. Congratulations to him. And now that all the housekeeping's out of the way, it's time for us to go have fun, storm to the castle. So until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.